And we are back.
And we are back.
One final time inside the SCCA.
The 2020
live
Solo
from
Nationals
the
and more.
Runoffs,
That's next.
Presented by
Inside
Goodyear
the
Racing Tires
SCCA.
and Vintage
Presented
Racers for
by
Rescues.
Blaze Coaching.
He's Greg Ginsburg. I'm Brian Belansky.
Deon, what question do
Ninth
you get the
show,
most
3
before
days.
someone decides
We
to
have
get a
26
coach?
national
Rather than the
champions.
question, I'm going to say the number one comment we get is,
for a while I thought
want a
maybe
coach
we'd
by
only
you
have
get faster.
25.
I need to get my new personal best.
I just love
that
it.
is
What a way to wrap things up here from Virginia International
International
Raceway for the 2022 National Championship
Runoffs.
Runoffs.
The next best
I think we
time
should just
is
get
tomorrow.
right to it.
Sure.
When drivers spend
4 more
time
races to talk
trying
about this
to add
afternoon,
speed without the
and
right
much has been the
fundamentals, without the
story
right
of the
systematic
week from
approach,
the racing
you're
standpoint,
increasing risk and you're forming
deteriorating
more
conditions
strength and
as
bad
the day
habits.
went
It'll take
on.
us more time
So,
to fix.
let's get right to
so
it.
go
Over to
ahead.
the Continental.
Continental. All right. Taking the win, your pole sitter, Nolan Allaire. It was his very first national championship. His father, his father was a former national champion, of course, and Robert, he was the 2020 national champ. Took the win 2 years ago at Road America, and we learned for the first time that Nolan was driving the car that Robert had taken the championship in 2 years ago. And as Nolan said, he's been crawling around this car since he was practically in diapers, and they felt that this was the faster car this week, and he was in it. He went off on the start, went off turn 1, lap 1, managed to work his way back to the lead. It certainly helped his case that Simon Sykes, who started off on the outside of the front row, the very next lap went off at turn 1. That elevated Trevor Russell, who we saw earlier in the week as well in, I believe, Formula X. Trevor, having started 5th, moved him up into the lead for quite some time, but Nolan Allaire able to make his way back around. He comes home with his first national championship. Trevor finishes 2nd. Simon Sykes, who had his own national championship, he comes home in 3rd. Michael Verison's many-time national champion in Formula V, I believe, gets his best ever national championship finish in Formula Continental. And Robert Allaire, our 2020 national champion, gets to see his son finish on the podium. Robert finished in 5th today, exactly, having started 6th.
I had a real good time. I went down to the podium ceremony for this one because Mr. Nolan got another award that we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Sure.
And family just having a good time, and the son was just so emotional, talking about cleaning the car, buffing the car clean when he was 2 years old. I think it might have been maybe 4 or 5 years old, but nonetheless, what a great story there. Let's head on now to GT3.
GT3, exactly, and taking his first ever national championship in GT3, his 3rd national championship overall. Tony Ave in his Acura RSX, and this was one of those races where you knew some people were going to have a tougher time than others. It became very, very wet. This is really when the rain started to really pour. All of our drivers went out on wets, except for one, and that's because he didn't have a choice in the matter. That was Alex Mayer driving the TCR Audi RS3, and he had to go out on the same tires, essentially the same compound, the same types of tires that he qualified on in the dry, because it's the only tire that's allowed via the rule set.
Right. And I talked to his dad down below us here a couple hours before the race. They were excited about the rain. They had a front-wheel drive car. They really thought in the wet they had the car to beat, and it ended up getting him on a podium.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex jumped out to an early lead. The problem being is that we had a couple cars go off course. We went to full course caution. Just before that full course caution came out, Tony Ave, though, was lapping almost 4 seconds a lap faster than our leader, Alex Mayer. And when we went back to green flag racing, and by the way, not only was a full course caution, but they black flagged the session also because there was some oil down. And Alex just really did not have, he didn't stand the chance with the pace that Tony Ave had once Ave got the heat in the tires. And so Ave, as we said, takes the championship, finishing 2nd was Blake Wilson. Now, Mayer had been running in second. Unfortunately for him, put the car off and had been in the grass for quite some time, but he'd built up enough of a gap. Blake Wilson, who started 10th today, who started 10th in the field in his first Gen RX-7, comes home in second. Mayer comes home in third. Our 2019 champ, the person who won here the last time the runoffs were at Virginia International Raceway, Jeff Durnell, he was your pole sitter. He came home in fourth, as we saw there, and then Tony Rivera, and I'm so happy to see this car. This was Gary Bachman's Mazda RX-3. For those of you that were watching the B-Spec race last year at Indianapolis when we had all of the throwback liveries, Kyle Keenan, who was I think our 2014 national champion, his mentor was Gary Bachman. He had his Mazda 2, the livery to match this 09 car, and I think they talked about it during the broadcast, when this car, which is has so much history and was so famous out on the West Coast, when it came up for sale this year, Tony Rivera had to have this car, and so he takes home Gary Bachman's car to a 5th place finish.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, in GT3.
That's pretty awesome. All right, let's move along to FE2, one of my favorite classes and one of the best races of the day.
Yes, in the wet, and oh my gosh, the excitement from our winner, Bailey Monette. Monette, who started 3rd today, last year finished just off the podium, finished 4th after having had a huge spin at Indianapolis, falling all the way towards the rear of the pack and working himself back up. He was absolutely gutted last year. You heard it in his voice during the interviews last year, and he had definitely had something to prove, and he comes home with the win, but not before he had to he really had to fight it out as Jason Conzo, who I think had the move of the race, and it happened on the very first lap. He worked his way around through turns 1 and 2 around our pole sitter, Russ Turner. He worked and took an early lead, and I might also add huge challenge for Russ Turner, the pole sitter, on the very first lap. He and Whitney Strickland, who started 6th, got together going into turn 14 up at the top of the roller coaster, ended both of their days much earlier than I'm sure they had anticipated. But Conzo was
the 2020 Solo Nationals and more.
Race.
That's next
He
on
also
Inside the
had some
SCCA,
luck,
presented
with the weather.
by Blaze
He dropped
Coaching.
back. He finishes 2nd. He started
Dion,
4th
what
overall,
question do you get the
and
most
again, based
before
on that
someone
initial
decides
move,
to get a
nothing to be
coach?
ashamed of.
Rather than the question, I'm going to say the number one comment
all
we
the way
get
till the
is,
end of the race.
Dion, I want to coach, but I need to get faster
Not
first.
get
I need to
it
get
done
my
in
new
his
personal
very
best.
first
That is
runoffs
the
appearance. I'm sure we're going to
absolute
see a lot
wrong
more
way to
from
think
him.
about
I
this.
absolutely
The
agree
right
with that,
time
yep.
Later
to get a
on,
coach is today.
TJ
The next
Hacker,
best time
One of my
is
guys
tomorrow.
from the West
When
Coast
drivers
here,
spend
Southern
more
California
time
guy,
trying
and
to add
said it
speed
right out. He
without
said
the
when he
right
got out of the car,
fundamentals, without
we don't
the
get
right
this kind of weather out
systematic
west.
approach, you're increasing risk, and you're forming
I'm sure
more
he's had
strength
some
and bad
weather
habits.
here
It take us
in
more
his spec
time to
racer
fix.
Ford.
So go ahead,
but,
send your video in
not in
today.
the
Doesn't
FE2
need to be
car.
the
He
perfect
started on
lap.
the outside
Doesn't
of the
need to be
front
the
row.
perfect session.
He
We can look at
finishes
your
on the
fundamentals.
last step of the podium, takes home the bronze. Caleb Schrader, who started 5th, he finishes just off the podium. Paul Schneider out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and really has been a perennial, not necessarily a favorite, but he's always been there.
Right.
He started 8th. He comes home in 5th, having made up 3 positions.
I agree, and you know, another one. It's like we're preaching to the choir. We got weather, but it's been such a story throughout the week. And one other
The
note, I think I
2020
want to
Solo
make
Nationals
here is
and
also
more. That's
with
next
Bailey
on
Monette,
Inside the
a person of color
SCCA,
winning a
presented
national
by
championship.
Blaze Coaching.
We don't see a lot of that in the SCCA. I wish we saw
Dion,
more.
what question do you
but
get the
a
most
wonderful amount
before
of diversity
someone
that we bring
decides
in when we have those
to get a
types of
coach?
situations.
Rather than the
And,
question,
I
I'm going to
can't
say the
just-
number
and
one
man,
comment
when he went
we get
around
is,
on his
Dion,
victory lap,
oh my
I want to
God.
coach,
it
but I need to get
I mean,
faster
he didn't
first.
have his
I need to
helmet
get
on.
my new
It's
personal
pouring
best.
rain down.
That is the
one-handing it
absolute
through
wrong
turns
way
11
to
and
think
12
about
that
this.
everybody
The
had
right
trouble with
time
2
to
hands
get a
on the
coach
wheel.
Exactly.
is today.
Big
The
smile
next
on his
best
face.
time
I mean,
is
eyes
tomorrow.
wide open. It
When
was the
drivers
best
spend
victory
more
lap I think we
time
saw. One of the
trying
best
to
victory
add
laps.
the best,
speed
well,
without
we
the
got another
right
we're gonna talk about
fundamentals,
later.
without
We'll
the
talk
right
about it a little bit
systematic
later.
approach,
It was
you're
so cool.
increasing
Yeah,
risk,
it was
and you're
amazing
forming
to see that.
more
And so that
strength
brings us
and
to
bad
our
habits. It
very
take us more
last
time to
race
fix.
of the runoffs.
So
Actually,
go ahead,
before we
send
do
your
that,
video in today.
I was
Doesn't
so
need to be
excited
the
about
perfect lap.
everything.
Doesn't
I
need
was
to be the
supposed to take a
perfect
break
session.
after GT3.
We can look at your
Well,
fundamentals, even if you make
So,
mistakes, and give you
I to say,
actionable
let's
tips
save
to
the
start
best for
going
last,
faster
but let's
and
save
being
the most
safer today.
dramatic.
There we go.
That's
for
Dion
last.
von
Let's take a
Moltke,
quick break. When we
Rolex
come back,
24
we'll
and
talk about
Sebring
FP2
12-hour
and
race
some other
winner,
stuff.
and
That's next
co-founder
on
of
Inside
Blaze
the
Coaching.
SCCA.
For more
Brought to you
info, go
by
to
Goodyear Racing Tires
blaze.io.
and Vintage
Links to the
Racers
Runoffs
for Rescue.
packages
Stay with
are
us.
in the show notes. Decades of sports car racing success comes from Goodyear Racing Tires' dedication to grassroots motorsports. Too many trophies and championships to count, and a commitment to continuing that tradition fuels continued tire development. From the professional levels of motorsports to the pinnacle of amateur racing in the SCCA, Goodyear Racing Tires are made for winning trophies. Follow @RaceGoodyear on Facebook or scan the QR code. Goodyear Racing is more driven.
Sentinel by Candelaria Racing Products is a comprehensive motorsports video system, incorporating live streaming, local recording, picture-in-picture, flag status, leaderboards, data overlays, and more. Perfect for endurance racing, sprint racing, and HPDE, Sentinel includes everything you need to get started. With the ability to control the live feed from the cloud, and GPS Auto Start will never miss an on-track moment. What are you waiting for? Get your Sentinel today.
All right, the last episode of Inside the SCCA at the Runoffs for 2022. Not the last episode of
The
Inside
2020
the SCCA, by
Solo
the way. It's just
Nationals
the last
and more.
episode
That's
at the
next
Runoffs
on
for
Inside the
2022.
SCCA.
Down, 8.5
Presented
down.
by
That's right,
Blaze
8.5
Coaching.
Exactly.
Maybe a little less than a half.
Exactly.
Maybe
Crazy.
Dion,
more
what
than a half.
question do you
All
get
right,
the
so
most
we're still
before
going on here.
someone decides
P2,
to get a
again,
coach?
way excited.
Rather than the question,
So I was watching the YouTube chat, and somebody made the comment that perhaps they should have a 3-spin rule. As it for a while there, there were a couple drivers that didn't look like they were going to be able to adhere to that. It was one of the most challenging races. We talked about at the end of the first day of racing, at the end of Friday, that T3 race that was, the 50-mile-per-hour winds and the sheets of rain blowing across, and how it's a good thing we didn't have the formula cars, we didn't have the prototype cars running in those conditions. Well, with the exception of the wind, because the wind didn't get so bad, we had those kind of conditions, at least from a rain standpoint, on the very last race. And of course, with these prototype cars that rely on aerodynamic downforce, but also have the under trays, what have you, very, very, very little ground clearance. If there is a groundswell of water, if there are big puddles, if there's a lot of standing water, there is a good chance that those cars will go around, and a lot of them did.
So I used to drive a Spec Racer Ford, and I've done that in the rain.
Sure.
And it's a closed wheel car, but an open cockpit.
Right.
It is shocking how wet you can get in that situation. Head to toe, my boots were wet, everything was wet. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so, Tim Day, who was our 2018 national champion at Sonoma, he was our reigning national champion. He put his car off on lap number 2 over at Oak Tree about the exact same time that Sherman Chow, who I think I mentioned earlier, was bump drafting us on his bicycle. I mean, very fast guy. He put the car off over at Turn 5. It brought out the first of multiple full course cautions. We had another, and that was, again, on lap 2. We had another one on lap 6. We had another one that forced a green-white checker to finish up the race. But Greg Guyan, who started on the outside of the front row, ran more or less a flawless race, a very clean race, and he takes home his second national championship here this weekend. Lucian Pancia, who has a number of second-place finishes, well, he can add one more to the tally here. He comes home with silver. He started third, and he was, up until that very last caution, challenging Greg Guyan, and it looked like Pancia had much better pace, just could not find a way to get clear of
The 2020
Guyan's
Solo
machine.
Nationals and
And,
more. That's next
As
on
Pancia
Inside the
explained to
SCCA.
Hayward Wagner,
presented by
on the
Blaze
final,
Coaching.
final interview, there
Dion,
was so
what
much rain,
question
not
do you
only
get the
you
most
shockingly
before
wet,
someone
apparently the
decides to
electrics in
get
the
a
car
coach?
get shockingly
rather
wet
than the question, I'm going to say
as
the number
well.
one comment
And
you get
some
is,
of the
yeah,
downshift
I want to coach,
auto
but I need to get
blipping with
faster
the
first. I need to
transmission
get my new personal
and some
faster.
other problems.
That is
This
the
sounds like
absolute
first world
wrong
problems when
way to
Lucian
think
says,
about things. The
I
right
had to use the
time
clutch.
to get a coach is
I'm
today.
thinking,
The
I
next
drive
best
an
time
old
is
Honda.
tomorrow.
I have to use the
When
clutch.
drivers
Big
spend
deal,
more
get used to it.
time trying to
But
add
you could
speed
see
without
it
the
was
right
pretty
fundamentals,
clear
without the
that
right systematic
that Lucian
approach,
did not
you're
have the
increasing
pace
risk, and
that
you're
he had
forming
had for the
more
previous laps
strength and
when
bad
he
habits.
needed
Take
it,
us.
and that was for the final 2 laps of the race. So he comes home second. Peter Shadowin, who started third, or probably he started 8th today. He comes home with the bronze medal.
The 2020
I think I
Solo
talked
Nationals
earlier in the
and
week
more.
that I
That's
had talked
next
to
on
Peter,
Inside the
a couple of
SCCA,
years ago,
presented
right
by
after he had
Blaze
picked up his
Coaching.
prototype car. I spoke with him at Road
Dion,
Atlanta.
what question do you
and
get the
thing
most
that he
before
said at the
someone
time was,
decides
"This
to get a
car
coach?"
scared him.
Rather
Yeah.
than the question, I'm
And
going to say
so
the
we
number one
found out
comment
today,
we get
and it
is,
wasn't a
Dion,
big
I want to
surprise,
coach, but I need to get faster
for me,
first. I need to
but
get my new personal best.
he ended up
That is
racing
the
this car in the
absolute
rain
wrong
today
way to
for
think
the
about
very
things.
first
The right
time. And there's a
time
difference
to get a
between
coach
racing
is
in the
today.
rain
The next
and
best
racing
time
in
is
the
tomorrow,
rain, which is
when
what
drivers
what
spend
they
more
were doing
time
here
trying to
today.
add
He
speed
managed
without
to
the
keep
right
the car on
fundamentals,
track.
without the right
He
systematic
managed
approach. You're
to
increasing
bring
risk,
that car
and you're
home. He
forming
started 8th.
more
He
strength
comes
and
home
bad habits and
with
take us more
his-
time to
with
fix.
the
So
bronze
go
medal,
ahead, send your
finishing
videos
third.
today. Doesn't need
You know,
to
the
be the
big joke
perfect
was
lap.
a little,
Doesn't need to be
little
the perfect
surprising
session.
on the
We can
on the
look at
pit
your
lane there
fundamentals,
that
even
he
if you
didn't know
make
the
mistakes,
procedure.
give you actual tips to
How do
start
you get
going faster
interviewed when you
and being
finish
safer
third?
today.
Well,
That's
now
Dion
he
von
knows.
Moltke, Rolex 24 and Sebring
he didn't
12-hour
expect
race
to be
winner
there. I don't think
and
anybody else,
co-founder of Blaze Coaching.
frankly,
For
expected
more
him to be
info,
there,
go to
starting from the 8th position.
blaze.io.
Michael
Links to the
Moulton
Runoffs packages
started
are
9th,
in
finished
the show
just off the
notes.
podium in 4th.
My guest on
and
this
then
episode
Richard
of Inside
Colburn,
the SCCA,
great
presented
drive
by
for
Blaze
Richard,
Coaching,
started 11th
is a
today.
four-time
He
Solo
comes home
Nationals
in 5th
champion
position.
and the
Yeah,
voice
it was
of the
definitely
Solo
just
Nationals,
a fantastic race.
Larry
A
McLeod.
lot of
How are you?
fun. And that
I am
was our
great,
final
Brian. How are
race
you?
It was
I'm
our
good.
final race.
of this
So,
year's runoffs. It's just
I'm gonna have
such
to
a
confess,
cool opportunity for these guys. And
you've been
my
duped.
first runoffs in
Guys,
many
gals.
years, guys, gals, exactly.
Yeah, I'm
my
not
first
surprised
runoff
that
since
there's
Mid-Ohio,
people that do duping
and
around here. That's happening
the
a lot
weather
this
might
week.
not have been as
When
as
I
good as we would have
invited
liked.
you on the show,
The
my
competition,
intention
though,
was to talk to you about what
absolutely
happened
as
on
good
Monday
as
and
we
Tuesday
wanted.
at the Solo
certainly
And
was.
I couldn't be happier to
And
be
then a little
here
bird
and,
told
and
me
bring all of this to everybody
that
and help.
maybe there
Kudos
would
to
be
the workers
something
who
else
stood out
I'd
in
want
all
to
of the
talk to you
rain.
about.
Kudos to the
So,
camera people who stood out in the rain. Some really,
for those
really
of you
good
who don't know,
stuff.
Larry
So,
was named yesterday the
Audio.
2022 Driver of
yeah,
Eminence
Okay, we're good. Just making sure.
at the Solo Nationals.
So we're going to
that-
do something else here that we've been talking about for quite some time.
Yes.
And that is we are going to talk about these awards that we've been talking about all week long.
Yes.
And it's been quite fun coming up with our award winners. And the first one we've been giving out, and these are Inside the SCCA awards.
They are not
SCCA
official
awards.
SCCA awards.
And I'll be honest, the reason wrong button. The reason I wanted to do this is because there's a lot of stories outside of the raw competition that we have here.
Sure.
And I found that we want to just kind of highlight some other stories and talk to people, talk about people for lots of different reasons. So we've got all of our 12 winners. We're going to go through those right now. And then at the end of the show, we're going to give away the grand poobah of awards that we give away, the 2022 G-Dub Henderson Award of Excellence. So let's go back here. Women on Track.
Women on Track, and I might add that some of these recipients you have met here over the course of the last 3 days. Here, one of our very first guests who came on bright and early Friday morning. She and her father were up at about 4:30 because she had the nerves with her very first runoffs attempt at a runoffs national championship. Cameron Reed, 16 years old, Formula F driver. A lot of adversity early on in the week for her father, and for a good portion of the Formula F paddock, apparently, who all came and gathered around and contributed to ensure that she was going to be able to make her first championship race.
And the Women on Track Awards, I would also like to mention, are brought to us by the SCCA Foundation and Women on Track.
Yes.
And we're going to do a lot more with them in the future on podcasts to give you a really good idea of what they do. We've already done a podcast with Women on Track. We're going to do another one with the SCCA Foundation. So tune in more for that. Our second Women on Track recipient, Amy Mills.
Amy Mills, she raced yesterday in Spec Miata, and we're presenting her the award for this Saturday award, as we had a different award for each of the 3 days. Amy started, I believe, 45th and finished 15th
That's
in
fantastic.
Spec Miata, made up 30 positions in this race. Not the hard charger
Crazy
award
enough,
winner,
someone
believe it or
made
not.
up a few more.
One more position.
Yeah.
than Amy, but she had a spectacular race. And again, what wasn't, we talked about this so many times, a very difficult race. Maybe not as difficult as some of the ones
Yeah.
we saw today, but under changing conditions, dry to wet to dry to wet.
Right.
And she did spectacularly.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to mention is that it wasn't for the driver who finished the best.
Correct.
It was for a driver that caught our eye or a story that was very interesting to us.
Yeah.
And that's how we decided who was going to do these things. So next one up, Ann Doherty. She is our recipient for today.
Yes, Ann Doherty, driver of the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport in GT2, started at 18th in the field, moved up, I believe, 5 positions during the race, had a very strong race, again, in what was a quite difficult race. We know a lot of the drivers that went out made the incorrect tire choices. She made the right one, picked up a number of positions. It was a great run for her today.
Absolutely, and I also want to touch base or mention while we're here and while we have the time to do it that there was. Oh, hold on a second.
Yeah, we talked to Sydney Davis Yeagle this morning during this afternoon during our lunch show.
Right.
And she spoke about a number of folks that took home scholarships.
Yep. And let me just
the Women on Track program.
Exactly. So let me just name those folks off here. The Rallycross scholarship that they've given out went to the Continental Divide region's Kelly Keefe, and Tennessee Valley region's Shauna Bowman. And the volunteer and official scholarship went to Vanessa
Foray,
who
we had dinner with last night.
Exactly. And it turns out this was her first runoffs.
Yes, her twin sister has worked many.
Okay.
And they were both Vanessa and her twin sister Valerie were named Pit and Grid Workers of the Year by the SCCA this year as well. So a lot of kudos to Vanessa and also to Valerie as well.
Exactly. And then the road racing scholarship went to Amanda Hines, who I believe has given the scholarship to people to start their school and start to get their license.
Yeah,
so.
and actually, I believe received her license and at Pit Race this year. And she was, for 2 events that I was at this year, for the Norton Hill Climb and also for the 2nd annual Pine Mountain Hill Climb, she was the registrar for that event as well, doing a lot for the SCCA.
And I think she was in Dan Dennehy's car for that event at Pit Race.
That is correct.
So it's all about the club coming together and giving opportunities, and I think that's fantastic. Okay, let's move on.
All right.
Veterans Challenge. This is an award that I really love being a part of and recognizing the folks who sacrifice for our country. And here's our 3 winners. We had Kara Barrandon on the show as a guest. And she had a good run in the rain. A very
good run in the rain in B-Spec, and she is one of the coolest women, and I know, and very quick with a comeback, as you asked her what excites her about racing. Yes,
badass would be my
I think so.
Absolute apropos.
Racing in SCCA, UTV racing, rugby player, you name it, she does it.
And she wanted to race in the rain.
Yes,
so cool. Our B-Spec national champion Stephen Trone. Also one of our Veterans Challenge winners, and we had him on the show.
Yes.
Great conversation. And his victory lap.
Yeah.
Going around.
It was one of the longest victory laps I think we saw of the weekend. So Steve, as we discussed, of course, comes from an SCCA family, 2nd generation. Steve himself has been, of course, he raced Spec Racer Ford for years and now is in B-Spec, but he has been a flagger for a long time, for a good portion of his life.
Yep.
And as he worked his way around this 3.27 mile, 17 turn track with his family essentially locked into the back of the hatchback of the Mini, I think there were 6 of them in there because my understanding is they had to close the hatch and the little pull tab was inside when they shut so they couldn't go anywhere. But more importantly, many of the flagging and communications workers here at the track stepped down from their flag stands, came to the track to all celebrate their brethren, their brother winning a national championship, and it was really something to see.
Yeah, those of us who stood on a corner and waved a flag, we like to stick together and really support our own in that situation. So, all right, we've got one more person to talk about, Veterans Challenge.
Yes.
And I just let's see here. Did I? Oh, you know what? I bet you I What did I do with the graphic
Wow.
on this one?
It's almost like he
Keep
doesn't
talking.
exist.
Keep
All right.
talking.
All right. So we have one other person, FE2 driver.
There it is.
There it is. Let's bring it up on screen. FE2 driver, and that is
Kelton Jago.
Kelton Jago.
And he is from your area.
He is
And he is a
from
veteran.
the Washington D.C. area. Yep.
And we've had him on as a podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Kelton, you can check him out on the podcast that we did with him. Really great guy,
He is.
very passionate about the club, extremely passionate about working with veterans. He's part of Veterans Races for Heroes. And we were really happy to have him. And he had a great run in FE2 in the rain too, as well.
He did. He did. He said he did everything he could to throw the race away. Went off at. He said he had an amazing turn 1, and then he went off at turn 2. But he still had a very good race today, and he has been a huge. He's a huge personality in the paddock, I think, and he does, as you mentioned, he does so much for veterans, for the SCCA. I met him a number of years ago on the Super Tour, and then again in the SCCA's Esports League as well.
Right.
And he is always doing something to promote the SCCA.
All right, let's keep going here. It was fun to give these out as well. 25 and under. These are for any driver, 25 or under, again, who caught our eye. And we had some really talented people out here.
All right, first, Peter Norton finished second in E-Production to Jesse Prather, and ran a spectacular race, had great pace, and unfortunately, he runs up against who is a person who is now a 6-time national champion, but was strong all week long, and in a car driving a Caterham that is not the most aerodynamic car in the field.
Absolutely.
Is maybe challenged a little bit in straight line speed, and drove a flawless race to put himself and put that car that had a bunch of challenges in front of a very large professional field.
Okay. Then there's Chuck Norton.
There's Peter Norton. Then there's Chuck McTutis, and we apologize for misspelling your name, Chuck. It's MacTutus.
I don't know if I can fix that on the fly.
That's all right. Pretend you don't see that. It's MacTutis. Charles McTutis finished second in that very difficult Spec Miata race. Led a number of laps in that race, and put, like many people, found himself in the grass over at turn 1, and but he worked his way back up. I believe he fell as far back as 9th position, worked his way back up into second in a very hectic, very challenging last 2 laps. And again, congratulations to Chuck.
Spelled correctly, finally.
Yes.
Thank you. Operator error, and I'm the operator. Nolan Allaire as our last 25 and under winner, and he was excited about his win so much. Again, he was out there with his family in Victory Lane, and he had the drive of the day. He's a national champion.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've already talked about it, and he's, again, a humble kid, and you could see just like we talked about Bailey Monette, you could see the excitement in his face.
No question.
You could see it in Nolan's face as well, and I think also, noted that the rest of that podium had, not the rest of them, but a good portion of that field had raced with him previously, whether it be in the cars or in karts as well, and they all looked genuinely happy for him. And again, great run for Nolan.
All right, the last of our 4 categories.
Perseverance. All right, so let's start off with Chip Herr. Chip Herr came to this event having just recently put his Audi A4. This is the car that he raced and won in Pirelli World Challenge back in the early 2000s. It came up for sale 2 years, actually spring of last year. He purchased the car and had a great run at the Indianapolis Runoffs. Finished second at Indy. Earlier this year at pit race in the wet, he had an incident trying to avoid another car, did serious damage to his Audi. They worked all summer long. He qualified for this race driving Anthony Pacelli's backup car, a Subaru WRX. Well, they brought the car out this week. He was able to set some times during the test days, but he also had some mechanical issues with the car. He brought it out early in qualifying, had more issues with the car. Pacelli had brought the backup car down,
Right.
and on pole day on Thursday, Chip informed the runoff staff that he was going to be going to that backup car, which means all of his previous times out the window.
Right.
And he started dead last in a 19-car field.
Right.
And now, granted, this is raced in STU, and this is a race that ended with only 3 complete laps
Right.
because of the oil conditions that we had. But by lap number 1, he was in 5th position. And by lap number 3, he was in 2nd position.
So 19th last to 2nd position, 3 laps.
3 laps.
And he needed one more lap, and he probably would have been in the lead.
If he had had one more lap, I'm convinced he would have been your national champion.
There you go.
So congratulations to Chip Herr, Stephanie Anderson, and I think this is more than just for Stephanie Anderson. I think this goes to the whole X Factor racing team.
Right.
Stephanie also had some issues with her car due to a shunt that happened earlier in the season. The X Factor team had brought that car, had brought a brand new to them Mazda 2. It had a cage in it already. A week ago, it was on the street as a street car.
Right.
So just before it got loaded into the trailer, it got a cage. When they showed up here on Saturday, a crate motor arrived from Mazda, some headers, all the accessories.
Right.
That went into the car. And then the suspension system from the old race car found its way into the new car. She brought it out for the very first time on the last day of testing on Monday afternoon, and it was ready to go for qualifying Tuesday morning. But essentially a race car built in the paddock here, and she had a great run as well in B-Spec.
All right. So those are our 12 winners.
Well, we missed one.
Oh, Mike Taylor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we missed one, and Mikey Taylor. I don't know where to start with Mike Taylor. I truly don't.
Maybe the most persevering of all of our perseverance awards.
Yeah, and Mike didn't have the best race of the day today.
Right.
But I need to say this after knowing Mike for a number of years and seeing the trouble that he has here.
Right.
At the runoffs, and this man never, ever, ever gives up hope.
Yep.
He has had mechanical issues. He's had offs in the car that he's had to do repairs above and beyond. He's had engine issues. He's had, when he worked back and qualified the car well in Road America 2 years ago, he had a tire go down on the pace lap. And he is the most positive man I know.
Boy, I'm so glad we did this one last. So we really, I mean, Mike does his thing. He comes out here. He's always trying to make it and do it, and he does the work himself.
He does.
And he kind of.
he has the engine help. He has the engine help with Blake Meredith.
Right.
But he does all of this work.
Yep.
On his own. He does have some additional assistance from some of his Hong North friends, but he is, and I'm back now.
Okay.
He does most of this work himself, but the thing is that he literally never ever gives up,
right.
and I don't know what he and Tina his wife Tina talk about behind the scenes. I'm sure she's probably wanted him to give this thing up
right.
many times over many years. But Mike Taylor, driver of the number this year, the 39 Acura Integra, as he switched over to a new chassis, he always has that he's gung ho, and you talk about never say die attitude.
Right.
I mean, he always has the smile on his face, and he is always ready for the next event.
All right. So those are our 12 award winners that we've given out over the last 3 days. Now, those 12 people, one of them is going to win the 2022 GW Henderson Award of Excellence.
I've been holding this up all week long.
I know. Should I do it now?
I want you to do this, yes.
All right. We're going to tell you a little bit more about GW here at the end of the show and give out the award to a very, very deserving recipient. And I can't wait to do that. We will do that a little bit later. When we come back, we're going to reveal the identity of the twig. That is next on Inside the SCCA, presented by Goodyear Racing Tires and Vintage Racers for Rescues. Stay with us.
Vintage Racers for Rescues. Racers rescuing dogs and cats from high-kill rural shelters and high-risk situations. Virginia and North Carolina have the third highest euthanasia rate in the U.S., and Vintage Racers for Rescues founders Robin and Dave Handy decided to do something about it. Vintage Racers for Rescues is a 501c3 charity that saves between 300 and 400 animals every year, nursing them back to health, finding foster homes, and eventually forever homes. VintageRacersForRescues.com. Use the QR code to find them on the web or to make a donation.
Corgi Sport is your one-stop shop for new and used mini parts and accessories. Whether it's driven on the street or on the racetrack, we have everything you need. From the small interior parts all the way to used and rebuilt motors. And with our sponsorship of the GPM race team, who travel to more than 30 tracks east of the Mississippi, we have a built-in delivery system that can save money on delivering large parts. Our line of Corgi Sport apparel celebrates the special bond between mini owners and their dogs. Mention this ad for a 10% discount at corgisport.com.
Racing for Heroes is proud to be a partner of Inside the SCCA. RFH is a nonprofit devoted to helping veterans suffering from the seen and unseen wounds of war through racing and our range of programs. RFH's programs include health and wellness, motorsports therapy, community outreach, education, and employment. Visit racingforheroes.org to learn more and find out how you can help. Cruise Associates is honored to have sponsored this message.
And we're back.
We're back.
Inside the SCCA, live from the Runoffs, finishing it out after a great 2022-26 national championships crowned, and we've had a ton of fun doing it all week long. Now we've been showing you the Twig and his sim racing run here at VR. We're going to show it one more time. You got to watch it one more time, and then we're going to tell you who the Twig is. And surprisingly, I haven't had anyone send me a note or talk to me here who actually guessed it right.
The same. I've had people give some pretty decent guesses, but not quite accurate.
All right, here we go. One more time.
A Rolex 24 at Daytona winner, a two-time champion of the 12 Hours of Sebring, a member of the prestigious Road Racing Drivers Club, and the Twig. Today we find the Twig at Virginia International Raceway, driving an MX-5 Cup car. The Twig is driving Spark Virtual Racing's S600. The S600 is a full-on driver training simulator. Unlike entry-level sim systems, this rig moves across all 6 degrees of freedom, making it a truly full-motion system that provides maximum feedback from the car. At $80,000, it's the ultimate training tool, providing a seat-of-the-pants feel that's remarkably close to what you feel when you are at the track. Let's find out what kind of lap time the Twig can lay down at VIR.
So we are out here at Virginia International Raceway in a Global MX-5 car here on the Spark Virtual Racing Halo Motion Simulator here. Trying to go for a fast lap, and man, it's different, right? Driving this Spec Miata car, I can feel it really starting to understeer, move around a little bit more. You can feel the softness of this car, which is so much different than a lot of the cars that I'm used to driving, the stiffer aero platforms of modern GT3 cars. They don't slide around as much. They don't have the pendulum effect of a soft MX-5 car here. Alrighty, think about hog pen. Let's get that good run out of here. All that curve. Rolling down, flat, right at the compression. There we go. Car sliding. Woo, every inch of the road there. That was a pretty decent exit. Get ready for a fast lap here. So I need that late, aggressive break into turn 1, looking for that 3 board. The 5th gear. Take a breath. Getting ready. Eyes are in. Boom, 3 board. There we go. Down to the apex point, back to full throttle, let the car be free out of here, go, 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 don't scrub speed. Thinking about turn 3, I want to be nice and light on the brakes to roll in speed. Nice and light, there we go, get down to that apex point, hey, what do you know, there we go, use all the road, that was okay, not great, into turn 4. Ooh, a little late on that turning point, not great, that's going to cost me some lap time. Alright, I need to be flat from here on out, all the way to turn 10. Let's use this curve here to do a little release, a little early on the turning point, get it together, hands straight, and we're good. Whew, take a breath into the S's here. need to be inch perfect, the first S, so that everything else is just working out for me. There we go. That was a good one. Jump this curve. Keep that right foot on the floor. Right foot on the floor. Come on. Alrighty. Nice and light on the brakes. Roll speed into turn 10. There it goes. Float, float, float. Use every inch of the road. Nice. Braking just past the 2-board. Boom. Hard on the initial brake. There we go. Release enough. Roll speed. Roll speed. There we go. Back to flat the apex point. Get the run out of here onto the back straightaway. Could have used a little bit more speed through Oak Tree, but my exit was good, and that's my main priority here. Take a nice breath. Down the back straightaway. Big brake zone coming up. I need to make sure I hit that apex point in turn 14, but I need to make sure I'm maximizing my brake pressure too. Nice and late on the brakes. Looking for that aero board. Let's go. Wham! Hard on the brakes. Get the car slowed down. Can I get it? No, too much speed, but I need to go, 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 go. Don't let it cost you. There we go. Alrighty, attack it through hog pen, turn it in flat. Use this curve, light on the brakes again. Car rotates, boom, back to full throttle. Come on, car, come on, car. Tell me I don't suck today with my lap time, please. And it's still not gonna be very fast. Come on, let's go. Come on. Well, that's a little bit better.
2:12.91. That's pretty quick.
As I've
he's the
said
twig.
all week, he is the twig, and
He is the twig.
yeah, no way I could match that.
So do you want to know who it is?
I do.
You do.
I want to know. I don't know.
Right. You do want to know.
I
All right.
do.
So here we go. And this is a fun picture for those at home. The guy second from the left
Right.
is Dion von Moltke.
See, I was going to ask if that photo is like one of those things where you get the pick out. Now we've said that we want to introduce the twig, but you now get to pick which of the four he is.
So this is at the end of every shoot, we do a crew shot.
Sure.
And since I was in California, I'm actually in the laptop, which I find funny.
Okay.
And anyway,
But you're like Max Headroom kind of.
we talked about that actually. So, but anyway, Dion was our driver. We spent a whole day with him.
From Blaze Performance.
Exactly,
Yeah.
from Blaze Coaching.
Coaching. I'm sorry.
So it's blaze.io, and he was awesome in this thing, and we're gonna do a whole lot more with him. But and that's not the best picture, of course, but it's the one I had. And we had a really good time, and I hope everybody had fun. And if you jump on your sims, try to beat 2:12.91, and do that with us. All right, it's time for us to take another break.
Okay.
When we come back, we're going to wrap this thing up.
Wow.
We've got one more big award to give out.
Okay.
We're going to run through all the national champions just real quick, one more time.
Sure.
We're going to give out a bunch of thank yous.
Yep.
And then we're going to do a bro hug. Well, probably not.
No.
But we are going to get out and go home. So let's do that right after this break. You're listening to Inside the SCCA and watching live from the Runoffs, presented by Goodyear Racing Tires and Vintage Racers for Rescues.
Decades of sports car racing success comes from Goodyear Racing Tires' dedication to grassroots motorsports. Too many trophies and championships to count, and a commitment to continuing that tradition fuels continued tire development. From the professional levels of motorsports to the pinnacle of amateur racing in the SCCA, Goodyear Racing Tires are made for winning trophies. Follow @RaceGoodyear on Facebook or scan the QR code. Goodyear Racing is more driven. The Roadkeeper HD video and data logger was developed using our experience in motorsports, driving experiences, and beyond. It brings dual stream HD video combined with high-quality GPS data within reach of everyone at the track or on the road. Travinci Systems is an official Runoffs contingency sponsor, and it's not too late to sign up. On-site registration is available at the contingency desk in Tech. The Roadkeeper HD meets SCCA's requirements for forward-facing cameras. Take advantage of 2022 Runoffs pricing for the Roadkeeper HD, $324 plus shipping. That's $75 off. Offer is good through Christmas.
I feel like I should be singing, the end is near. At the end is here.
It's here. Right, is near.
Before we get to the national championships, I want to thank everybody at home who's been sitting here and watching us and hopefully enjoying what we've done for the last couple of days. As you may think and as you may have figured out, Greg and I are extremely passionate about racing and about the Sports Car Club of America.
Yes.
It's been part of my life. Now I'm going to get teary-eyed.
Yeah.
I'm going to get teary-eyed.
Yes. It's about time.
No, it is not about time. Dang it. This club has been part of my life since 1986, when my dad brought me to the racetrack. And the people here this weekend and all around the country who I've been with at the races, they're my family. I love them to death. And I love the sport. And I could not thank all of you at home more for being here with us this week. And now it's time for you to talk because I can't.
Because you can't.
And where are we going to Friday, right? Here we go.
Yes, let's go
Thank
to
you.
Friday.
Please talk.
All right, so a couple stats here before we start running down our Runoffs champions. Of the 500-plus entrants that we had here this week for the Runoffs, 95 of them had previous Runoffs championships and gold medals. All right, and so let's take a look at the people that are already part of that list and some new ones that we are adding to the list this after this 2022, the 59th running of the National Championship Runoffs. Sven de Vries, already a national champion. He picks up another, as does Andrew Acolante. Jonathan Kotek, also a former national champion, past national champion. He was a reigning national champion coming into this weekend. He takes home another one. Thomas Herb, again, a national champion, comes home with another gold medal, as does Jesse Prather, Frank Futrell, Joe Moser. So of that list on Friday, 8 races, 7 of them came here already possessing a gold medal. Jason Ott, one of 54 drivers making their 20th or more appearance here at the Runoffs.
Wow.
And on the 21st, he becomes a national champion.
There we go.
So
All right.
congratulations to him.
I'm going to run through Saturday. If you've got a stat that works on Saturday, hit me in the shoulder. We'll jump right in, okay?
But I don't.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, maybe I do.
Maybe you do. Saturday, national champions. They went to some amazing drivers who had some amazing races. Trevor Russell is a first-time national champion in FX. Marshall Mast, I believe, a second-time national champion. He is in T4 national champ. GTL went to Peter Shadowin. Formula V is Brian Farnham. Nick Bruni, maybe the surprise national champion,
Yes.
and we're happy as heck for him.
Yes.
I'm not going to have you talk about him.
I'm fine right
It's all good.
I'm good. I'm all cried out.
That's
We're
right. The gold medalist in Spec Miata. B-Spec, Stephen Trone, big win for him. His first national championship. Formula Atlantic, Alex Mayer, his first national championship. H Production, Chris Shafsma. Was that his first?
That was his first national championship.
First national champion. P1, Chip Romer. I know it wasn't his first.
No, it wasn't.
And then, of course, in T2, we had Kurt
Resitano.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the assist there.
Yeah, and so I do have a stat for this. Actually, we had returning to VIR 16 winners, 16 gold medalists from the 2019 Runoffs were here, and on this list, well, there is one, and that's Peter Shadowin, who was our 2019 national champion in GT Light. So there you go. I worked one in.
There's the stats man for you. Here we go.
Sunday, here we go. Greg Malloy with his first national championship in STL. Greg Eaton, not his first national championship. He was also our winner here in 2019. Eric Prill repeating as a national champion here, won in 2019, picked up his third national championship here this weekend.
And he said that this may be his last for a while.
Yes.
I don't believe he's not coming back at some point in time.
At some point. Danny Bender, a former national champion. Nolan Allaire picking up his first, and great to see young talent here. Really, and talk about family and SCCA. I think that's an example of it right there. His father, a former national champion. Tony Ave picking up another national championship. Bailey Monette, great. We said a great story. He was, you could see. And I don't want to say that Bailey Monette is the only one showing emotion. We saw 3 days of drivers when Hayward Wagner goes up and sticks that microphone in their mouth.
In their face.
In their face, pardon me. Not in their mouth.
Oh, we're tired, folks.
Slip of the tongue. But I mean, every last one of them, the shock and the awe that they exude it was just absolutely amazing. And that goes to Bailey Monette, also Greg Guyan, who had one of the toughest races here of the weekend in an absolutely horrendous conditions. Our final national champion named here at Virginia International Raceway in 2022. Congratulations to all 26 gold medal winners.
Yes, absolutely. Fantastic work by all of those folks. Now, this was the part of the show where I thought I was going to actually tear up. I'm going to try not to. All right.
Please don't.
All right. So right now we're going to give out the G-Dub Henderson 2022 Award of Excellence. For those who might not know G-Dub, one of my best friends, if not my best friend, we lost him 2 years ago, and he was a mainstay in the club. Very, very hard worker, New York region member. I believe he was regional executive. I believe he was flag chief. I know
he wrote the divisional newsletter pages in Sports Car Magazine for the longest
as
time.
well. Big part of their solo program. Just a real force to be reckoned with. And when I decided to do these awards, I couldn't think of anybody better to name this award after than G-Dub Henderson. So now it is time. I don't have drum rolls, sound effects, but if I had one, I would run it here. The winner of the first G-Dub Henderson Award of Excellence, and I say that because I'm hoping to do this again many times, and it's Stephen Trone.
And Stephen Trone, PSPAC national champion.
Deserving beyond regard, but more importantly, or not more importantly, but part of the significance of this is that G-Dub and his dad worked a lot of time together up in the Northeast, and I'm pretty certain they were both looking down on Steve this morning.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty clear that a lot of that rubbed off on Steve.
Yeah, so Steve and Trone, great family, longtime members of the SCCA, and so important is the family aspect of what we do, and that's why he is going to get this in the mail and hopefully take a picture with it and send it to me. But again, Stephen Trone is the G-Dub Henderson 2022 Award of Excellence winner, and I didn't cry like a baby. Yay me. Guess what?
What?
We have a bunch of people to thank.
We do.
Before we get out of here.
It's not just the Brian and Greg show. There are a lot of people behind the scenes that helped here to bring this to you.
All right, so let's get started. The partners who helped us get this done. Jay Chapman at Goodyear Racing Towers, thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much. Robin and Dave Handy, Vintage Racers for Rescues. Dave Pinterick, also part of that whole crew that helped us get here. Matt McGivern from Spark Virtual Racing. We had the Twig. Matt was a big part of why that happened. Candelaria, James Candelaria Systems. Sentinel Systems. By the way, the award that Stephen Trone's getting comes with a Sentinel system, $2,500 value. That's going to go to Stephen Trone as well. Just so much fun here, so much fun. And very important people to help us do this. All right, moving on. We have a couple more people. Next is Frank Schwartz from Grass Paddock Racing, Angus McKenzie from Racekeeper, and of course Eric Cruz from Cruz Associates. He was the one who brought the Veterans Challenge Awards to us, and we thank him very much. Now, on to the folks here at the SCCA. Without them, we would not be here. Eric Pearl, Deanna Flanagan, Dan Dennehy Rodriguez, Kristen Poole, Abby Shear, Hayward Wagner. Hayward is a big part of why the podcast is even successful because he helped us. He believed in us right from the start.
One of your very first guests.
And he was, I think, my second guest. Yeah. And I don't know why he wasn't the first, but anyway. I
give him something to complain about.
I wouldn't be here without Hayward. Great thank you to him. Aaron Bird from Virginia International Raceway helped us with some of our tech stuff here, made sure that we had rock-solid internet all week, because without rock-solid internet, this show does not come to you. And then finally, there are a handful of other people here. Brian Donati was our camera tech. God, we couldn't have done it without him. He crawled around the floor to get our cable set up. Thank you so much. Alex Belansky, my munchkin, was the editor for one of our spots. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate all of that work. The executive producer for everything we do at Rule 15 Productions is my better half, or as I like to say, my better three-quarters, Leslie Belansky. Greg Ginsburg.
Who?
You.
Oh.
You. Okay. And, of course, you got stuck with me. So I'm just, gosh darn it, Greg.
Well, I was going to say, Brian, before we wrap up,
Uh-oh.
of course, there's not much I can say other than asking the people that are watching us
You're not
right
going to
now.
make me cry.
No, I'm not going to make you cry.
Okay,
And
thank God,
This
'cause-
is emotionless. So those of you that are watching us on SCCA's YouTube channel, on the SCCA
yes.
official YouTube channel, those of you that are watching us on Racer Magazine, and those of us that are watching us on the Racing
Network.
The
yes.
Racing Network, if you could please do us a huge favor. We don't have any neat graphics and sound effects to show you, but if you can please, 1, give us a thumbs up. 2, click on that subscribe button so you'll always know, and you'll get the little, you'll be able to see.
Ding.
Yeah, and if you click on the notification bell every time we go live in the future on YouTube, you will know about it. It helps us, it helps you find out more about what the SCCA is doing and all of the great programs of the SCCA, whether it's the road racing program or whether it's, my other home of late, the Time Trials National Tour, or solo or road rally or rally cross, everything the SCCA does.
We started at 7 a.m. Friday morning. It's 6 p.m. Sunday night.
It feels like 6 a.m. Monday.
That's right. 9+ hours of programming, a deluge, a tropical storm, and I couldn't have had a better guy to sit next to for the whole time.
Thank you so much, and right back at you.
Inside the SCCA, live from the runoffs at VIR one last time. What am I pointing at? Oh, shirts. Thank you. It's always good to have you with me because you will save my bacon from making a mistake and forgetting something. SCCAgear.com, they still have runoff stuff. Go buy it from there. If you weren't here, and even if you were here, we can't get it now, but go to SCCAgear.com. If you need shirts for your team, if you need shirts for anything, call Rick at shirts101.com. Great guy. He will set you up. Okay, now. Anyway,
gotta thank the sponsors.
After 9 hours of programming live from inside the SCCA, live from the runoffs, we are done. We are out of here. Thank you very much, and keep watching the podcast even when we're not at the runoffs. I would really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you later.